honor our local World War II vets. News Channel 21's Kate Paul talked with some of them about their military experience, surviving Pearl Harbor, and the war beyond that point. She's here now with more. Kate?
Lee and Nina, the story I'm about to share focuses on two different veterans with two different stories. One who fought from the air and the other from sea, as they remember World War II and we remember our veterans and their sacrifices.
This is just a few of the aircraft that I have flown.
He lives in Sisters now, but 89 years ago, Joel Premzelar was born to European immigrants in New York City. There, he committed himself to flying at the age of 8.
The only thing that I ever wanted to do was fly.
A pilot since the age of 16, enlisted in the Navy at 17. His first stop, an apprentice seaman in April of 1938 on the USS Arkansas. A transfer to the USS New York, a ship with aircraft on board, brought him in close to a senior aviator who accepted him into his unit.
I wanted to be the pilot, not the gunner or anything else, just the pilot. Oh, how about pepper?
Down in La Pine, Chuck Sellington shares a similar passion and story. A high school graduate as of June 12, 1940, 10 days later, he left Nebraska to join the Coast Guard.
Boy, those guys were rough.
After 3 months in boot camp, it was time to board the USS Sequoia.
And we crawled up the side of it, which was real scary for a young punk kid.
Chuck's life became the ship and sailing around the Pacific Ocean for $21 a month.
And today, people laugh. They make that in a minute or two.
But an upgrade to the Matsonia, a cruise line headed to Hawaii, then later on the ship Taney, meant things would be a little more comfortable, at least for now.
They didn't know what was coming, really, but they kind of knew that there was an attack coming. They didn't know when.
It was the morning of December 7th, 1941, when an attack finally came, a date which will live in infamy. The Japanese raid on Pearl Harbor was one of the defining moments in U.S. history.
Everybody was confused, and to tell you the truth, I didn't even know where Japan was.
The entire attack took 1 hour and 15 minutes, but for those who survived, its impact would last a lifetime. America, unprepared and now considerably weakened, was abruptly brought into the Second World War.
Well, it went from shock, and then the reality of what really occurred happened, and we were deluged with work efforts to prepare ourselves for the war.
The roles of many soldiers were about to change. For Joel, he wound up as a pilot flying off of battleships. His job was threefold: finding targets for gun batteries, spotting enemy submarines, and search and rescue, an often dangerous job.
But you had no time to think about fear. You just went out there and you did it.
During the war and following years, he became an accomplished pilot, flying 65 different types of aircraft and racking up more than 10,000 hours flight time. The Navy took him and his camera all over the world.
I was taking pictures of Hiroshima from the air. We landed, and I took several pictures from the ground, and there were some very interesting shots from both air and the ground.
Kauai in Hawaii.
Surfing still.
As for Chuck, the war meant a change of location as well. He headed to Midway Island, then to many other places throughout the South Pacific, transporting soldiers and bringing wounded ones home. During the war, he says he stayed out of the line of fire and was able to avoid the job of picking up fallen soldiers.
You grab them, you know, and the skin would come right off of their arms. And, but I wasn't in on that. Thank God I didn't have to go through that.
Through the next few years, Chuck worked his way up while on board, climbing from fireman third to fireman first in the ship's engine room, made for unique adventures, including a search for a pilot missing in the South Pacific, Amelia Earhart.
Never did find her, but what they think now is that the Japanese probably got her.
After the war ended in '45 and the U.S. and its allies declared victory, both men remained in the military. Chuck dedicated 7 years of his life to the Navy, and Joel made a 22-year career out of it. They had different career paths afterwards, But both men thank the service for some of life's toughest lessons.
Self-discipline.
How to be respectful.
Had to maintain a sense of humor. That was important.
But maybe some of the best lessons learned were those of friendship.
Stuck up for one another, you know.
There was a certain camaraderie that you could find aboard ship or in the military in general, like no other relationship you'll ever meet in the rest of your life. What happened to one happened to all. It was that way.
And after his time in the Navy, Joel Premselar went on to work as an aeronautical engineer. Chuck Sellington, meanwhile, went into construction. Both, as mentioned before, have retired in Central Oregon. And now, Leonina, here's an interesting little tidbit of information for you guys. The United States has one living World War I vet. His name is Frank Buckles. He's 108 years old and lives in West Virginia. Back to you guys.
Very interesting. I did not know that.
Absolutely, 108. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Happy Veterans Day to all those folks.